We all know the story of Cleopatra, the tragic romantic, the irresistible seductress, the last queen of Egypt who died for love. Her legacy, etched in Hollywood glamour and ancient myth, paints a picture of a doomed heroine who captivated the greatest men of Rome. But what if the clay of history has been molded to hide the truth? What if, beneath the golden headdress and the romantic tragedy, there lies a trail of calculated murders and ruthless ambition? Welcome to Buried History. Today, we're digging up the dark side of Cleopatra. In 41 BC, Cleopatra proved that blood is not thicker than water, especially when the throne is at stake. Her younger sister, Arsinoe IV, had once been a rival for power, even leading an Egyptian army against Cleopatra and Julius Caesar. After her defeat, Arsinoe sought the ultimate protection, sanctuary in the Temple of Artemis at Ephesus, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. For centuries, this sacred space offered inviolable refuge. To kill within its walls was an unthinkable blasphemy. But Cleopatra didn't care for sacred laws when her crown was threatened. She convinced her new lover, Mark Antony, to order her sister's execution. Soldiers dragged Arsinoe from the temple steps and murdered her. It was a shocking desecration that horrified the ancient world. Cleopatra didn't just eliminate a rival. She trampled on the gods themselves to ensure no one else could claim the title of queen. Arsinoe wasn't the only sibling to fall victim to Cleopatra's ambition. In fact, Cleopatra's rise to power is paved with the bodies of her own family. According to Egyptian custom, she was forced to marry her younger brothers to rule. Her first brother-husband, Ptolemy XIII, drowned in the Nile after going to war against her. But her second brother-husband, Ptolemy XIV, met a more insidious end. After Julius Caesar secured Cleopatra's throne, she ruled alongside the young Ptolemy XIV. But when Caesar was assassinated in Rome, the political landscape shifted. Cleopatra no longer needed a teenage co-ruler. She needed to secure the dynasty for her son, Caesarion. Shortly after Caesar's death, Ptolemy XIV suddenly and mysteriously died. Ancient historians widely agree Cleopatra poisoned him. With a drop of venom, she cleared the path for her toddler son to take the throne, proving she was willing to murder her own flesh and blood to consolidate her absolute power. The legend of Cleopatra smuggling herself into Julius Caesar's quarters, rolled up in a carpet, is one of history's most famous romantic meet-cutes. But this wasn't a fairy tale romance. It was a desperate, calculated political maneuver. Exiled by her brother and facing a massive army, Cleopatra knew her only path to survival was the Roman general. She didn't seduce Caesar merely out of passion. She weaponized her charm to secure a military alliance. She needed his legions to slaughter her enemies and reclaim her throne. Cleopatra understood that her body and her intellect were tools of statecraft. She used Caesar's infatuation to turn the Roman war machine into her personal bodyguard. She wasn't a victim of Roman imperialism. She was a brilliant, ruthless strategist who manipulated the most powerful men in the world into fighting her civil war for her. The romance between Cleopatra and Mark Antony is often portrayed as a tragic love story for the ages. But in reality, It was a volatile political partnership that doomed them both and destroyed the Egyptian empire. Cleopatra needed Antony's military might to expand her territories, and Antony needed Egypt's immense wealth to fund his wars against his rival, Octavian. Their alliance culminated in the disastrous Battle of Actium in 31 BC. When the naval battle turned against them, Cleopatra didn't stay to fight alongside her forces. She ordered her royal squadron to flee, abandoning her fleet and Antony's men to be slaughtered by Octavian's forces. Antony, broken and desperate, abandoned his own army to follow her. Her decision to run didn't just lose the battle. It shattered Antony's reputation and sealed the fate of Egypt. The queen who claimed to love her country ultimately sacrificed it and thousands of her soldiers in a desperate bid to save herself. Even in death, Cleopatra controlled the narrative. As Octavian's forces closed in on Alexandria, she knew she would be paraded through the streets of Rome in chains, humiliated as a captive trophy, just as her sister Arsinoe had been years before. Her suicide by snakebite, the legendary asp, was her final act of defiance. But it wasn't a surrender to grief over Mark Antony's death. It was a calculated political statement. By taking her own life, she robbed Octavian of his ultimate prize. She chose the method of her death to align herself with the divine, ensuring she would be remembered as a god queen rather than a defeated prisoner. From her first day on the throne to her last breath in the tomb, Cleopatra was a master manipulator, orchestrating every detail of her life and her death to serve her own legend. Cleopatra, a figure of immense complexity, whose actions, when viewed through the lens of buried history, reveal a leader who was far more dangerous and far more brilliant than the romantic myths suggest. Her legacy is not just one of beauty and tragedy, but of calculated murders, strategic seductions, and a ruthless will to survive at any cost. History isn't black and white. It's built on dark secrets. And sometimes, the most celebrated queens cast the longest, darkest shadows. Subscribe to Buried History for more untold stories that challenge everything you thought you